Blog Talk Radio.
The year, 1888. The place, London's East End. Dead and mutilated bodies are popping up all over, from Stamford to Whitechapel. Jack the Ripper is leaving his mark, and the city's on edge. Yvonne Mason is back with a tale of murder and millinery. The Rhodes Hat Factory is booming while the body count rises. Why now? How are these hats connected? Has the Hatter gone mad? Mad Hatter from Yvonne Mason. Available now on Amazon.com.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and this is Off the Chain. I am your host, Yvonne Mason, and yes, that was a bit of shameless self-promotion, and every time I hear that ad, I laugh because it makes me happy. I'm twisted that way. Tonight, my guest is one of my favorite people in the entire world. She is author Jennifer Chase. She is a multi-award-winning crime fiction author and a consulting criminologist. She holds a bachelor's degree in police forensics and a master's degree in criminology and criminal justice. Just one of the many reasons I love her, because that's what my degree is in, is criminal justice. So these academic pursuits developed out of her curiosity about the criminal mind, as well as from her own experience with a violent sociopath, provided Jennifer with a deep personal investment in every story that she tells. In addition, Ms. Jennifer holds certifications in serial crime and criminal profiling. She is an affiliate member of the International Association of Forensic Criminologists. Hello, my friend. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the show, Yvonne.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show. I've been waiting all month for this.
I know you've been really busy. You've had some really great guests.
Well, thank you. You and I've been at this for a long time, and we both agree that in order for us to be successful, we want to make others successful. And
absolutely,
God, I love making people successful. It makes me so happy. You know, we are almost at 5,000 listeners between the podcast and the live show and the archive.
Oh, that's great.
So when this
and I also wanted
on,
to remind you how I first met you. When I first published my first book, I was on a show, and the host told me, "There's someone you have to meet. You have to meet Yvonne Mason. I'm gonna connect you to her. I want you to talk to her." And that was like one of the best things that ever happened. Early on, is just getting connected with you.
Well, thank you, darling.
I think it was in 2000,
that.
and I believe it was 2009.
Has it been that long?
I think it. I know time is just flying by, but it always has made such an impact on me. I mean, I love the true crime, and just it was meant to be, and it's just great that so much has happened, not only for me but for you as well. And I'm on the show with you right now.
And you're coming back in February. Because I know we're not going to get to a third of my notes. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand, when I say this show is off the chain, I mean it's off the chain because, yes, I have notes that I want to talk to my guest about, but sometimes we take detours and I don't get to my notes, so we just bring them back and have more fun. So other than the fact that you told the folks how we met, explain to the folks how you got to where you are, and go, back as far as you want to, the history. Have you always been interested in crime and criminal profiling and crime stories, or was it something that you picked up later in life?
Well, I always loved to write, and I've loved mysteries, but what really started it for me, getting into the criminal mind, into forensics and all the technology that's going on, was I actually lived next door to a textbook, real live, violent sociopath. And it was just one of those kind of strange occurrences where we moved into this house, and my husband and I, and the first time I met this person next door, it just started this whole ugly chain of events where he would use his type of personality. He was a bully. He could get people to do what he wanted. He only picked certain kind of people that would work with him. And believe it or not, he actually trimmed trees. So he had, yes, the whole gamut of chainsaws, axes, all these kinds of things that you see in horror movies. But I wouldn't fall for it. I ignored him. I was just like, I'm not going to let this guy intimidate me. I've always been a little bit of a scrapper, and I don't run away. At least I haven't yet, from a fight or a confrontation, and he didn't like it. So it really set something off in him where he constantly threatened me. He threatened me very how he was going to kill me in great detail. He would intimidate people who came to our house. He would sneak around the property, but we were so close. The houses were so close, you really couldn't get a restraining order. So I finally ended up, I wasn't looking forward to going to the police because he hadn't really done anything yet, but I knew that something bad was going to happen, or to somebody else. And so that's when I kind of made friends with just about every police officer at the time. And they knew who this guy was, and, it just escalated to where I came out of my house one day to get in my car in the garage, and he's standing in the garage with an axe in his hand. And I thought, I wonder if I can run faster than he can. Because I knew, and he was just threatening me over stupid things like the leaves from your tree is in my yard, and it was just like absolutely ridiculous stuff. But it did escalate to a level where when I was in the house, I figured I had to be able to defend myself. And, what are your most vulnerable areas? You're sleeping and when you're taking a shower. So that's how I had to live my life, thinking that this guy was going to end up in my house. Something was going to set him off to a degree where, he was going to come in and murder me. So I know I'm laughing. I'm kind of making light of it, but it was just almost ridiculous at the time. But we ended up having to move. So the police said, okay, well, when you move, let's just make sure he's not following you. And when we moved, he did find me. And then it got worse. Dead animals on my car, threats, coming by my job. I hired a personal trainer because I figured I have to be able to at least be able to fight this guy. He's a pretty big guy, over 6 feet, kind of stocky. I'm barely, if I stand up straight, I'm barely 5'4". So, that's kind of my life for about 4 years. So as I started digging, and I thought, well, what's up with this guy? Why are people like this? And so I started kind of digging, and at the time there was only one crime show, like true crime show that was on. I think it was the Forensic Files or something to that nature. I can't remember the exact name. And I started getting really interested in it. I'm like, this is kind of interesting. And then I spent quite a bit of time with police officers on ride-alongs, on investigations, and I started just really learning, what the limitations are from their point of view, what kind of people like this are in our whole county. And they said there's always at least 2 or 3 of these type of people. And so I started getting really interested, and kind of looking at it more like a science project. So that's what really kind of kicked it off for me. It did get to the point I left work one day, didn't tell anyone I was doing an errand before I went home, and apparently this individual who had been basically stalking and threatening me had beat one of his employees almost to death. He left him for dead. And so when the police got there, the guy was still alive, told them who it was, so they went to his house to arrest him, and he wasn't there, but there was a list. And I kid you not, this is just straight out of a movie. There was a list of people he was going to kill. So, anyways, when I came home, there were four police cars at my house. And I'm like, what does this guy do now? Because it's so sad. So, anyways, to make a long story short, they did arrest him. He did very little time. I think he did about 10 months. And then he was released again. So we moved again. But he's the type of person, I don't worry about him. He's the type of person that just fixates on what's happening, like, in the moment. And if he did see me again, like today walking down the street, yeah, he'd probably fixate on me again, but I guarantee that this guy is fixated on a lot of other people, issues of people who he feels have wronged him in some way. So I was very up close and personal with this person, and it was amazing when I started really studying in textbooks and things that, wow, it's like they're writing about this guy, some of the personality, some of the words he used, some of, there were days he would, try to be nice. He came over and knocked on our door on Christmas morning one day and had a box of chocolates. Now, Yvonne, would you actually take a box of chocolates from this guy?
I would say thank you very much and proceed to trash him.
That's right. So, it was just seeing this type of personality and things that one day I was out in the front yard and he actually came over and like he was telling me about his family, and I think there was a lot of truth to it. So it was like, a making of a violent monster. It was really, I couldn't not listen to him because it was so fascinating. He's talking about how I'm like, as silly as it sounds, he complained that his mom didn't love him as much as his sister, and just all these things,
I laugh because I know the type of person. I understand that with my background. And the whole world is against them.
The whole world is against him. I remember one day my husband said, "Oh, so-and-so." He goes, "Have a good day." And he goes, "I never have a good day. Every day is a bad day," And to me, that's just, kind of in a nutshell. And it's how they perceive everyone else. And one thing that really did make me mad is that he would intimidate some of the senior citizen people of our neighborhood. And there were people who were very, very afraid of him. And he was very intimidating. But, I mean, just it's like taking the whole bully thing times 10. And, not everyone is going to actually physically, assault somebody like that or, worse, kill them. But it's just that personality type, and they get away with it. They get away with so much.
Yeah, until what happens, it escalates to the point they kill somebody, and then they go away for a very long time. But what happens with the people that he intimidates, it's like feeding him a drug because he feels more powerful and he grows and he's invincible and he's king of the mountain. And when he couldn't intimidate you, it just literally pissed him off.
Oh, it did. It really did.
Because you didn't fall under his spell.
And there were instances where he would go into the house, slam the door, and I could hear windows breaking and glass breaking from inside. He was so angry, and he was just, breaking everything in sight. And, it was kind of disturbing, especially, he had this excessive detailed of how he was going to kill me. And for someone to spend that much time and have that much description, this is not a person that you want. Well, first of all, you don't want living next door to you, but, you don't want this type of person wandering around.
He should have, I don't know why they only put him in jail for 10 months.
Yeah, and he went to a very minimum security, and that really was because the type of the violent act. I don't know why. I don't know. Sometimes things go, I don't know, he must have known someone or they dropped down to lesser charges, but I mean, this guy, he left for dead. And so they thought that he had nothing to lose because he had already killed somebody in his mind. So, that's why. And I still am friends with who was one of the detectives at the time. And I said, "You're still not going to tell me what number I was on that list," because he went there. He was one of the police officers that went to arrest him. I know it's kind of warped humor, but I was just curious at what, was I at the top of the list or?
Yeah, you wanted, if he's going to kill you, you wanted to be important enough to be on top of the list after all.
So, and this gives me a lot of fuel and a lot of imagination to, I put little snippets in all of my books. There's some little truths, even though they're fiction, could have been something that happened to me. So.
And you can't make this stuff up, Jennifer.
No.
You absolutely, the truth is stranger than fiction. And when you
Definitely.
what people don't understand, especially women, is when they get involved when this type of a human being, they literally almost sign themselves a death warrant.
Mm-hmm. That's why I hired a well, he was a personal trainer, but he was a very high black belt, and I said, I want to get into shape and just feel like I'm just much more confident, but I want to be able to defend myself. I mean, not just like some of the classes you see. I want to be able to defend myself. If somebody grabs me in the parking lot, grabs me by the throat or whatever it is, I want to be able to fight to the best of my ability. And that was very enlightening, too. It's very empowering learning how to – I did a lot of kickboxing, but just learning that you can do this, It doesn't matter your size. Doesn't matter really your age, to a certain degree. There's things you can do, and I really learned a lot. So that's why my heroine in my book, she fights a lot.
She kicks some butt in those books.
She does.
I'm going to tell you. She kicks a lot of butt. She's a take no prisoners type of gal. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll talk about it in a minute, we'll get to her books, but Jennifer is an amazing person. I admire her so much. She's a woman after my own heart because Jennifer, like myself, takes no prisoners. We don't put up with BS. We don't have time for it, not going to deal with it. So, because of all of this, you evolved into forensics and criminology, and now you do consulting work?
I haven't done a lot over the past year or so, basically on cold cases and things like that. I'd like to have really more time to do it. One of the things is I started learning a few years ago just the amount of missing people. A lot of times they're presumed dead, but there's just so many of them that it just really, first of all, it makes me really sad. But, these are cases that deserve, I know that there's just not enough manpower, but in fact, I went to school with someone that in my area that went missing in 91. And, that still is it's like more people I talk to, they either know someone or have a friend of a friend of someone who's disappeared. And it's just... Sadly, with the technology that we have now, not only does it make crimes, I don't want to say easier because no crime is easy to solve, but we have more availability with DNA and forensic science to solve crimes that we didn't have years ago, but it also makes the criminal more available to pick their victims. Right. Well, and one of the downside to some of these shows that they show on TV, solving these crimes, is they're also kind of showing anybody who is going to commit a crime kind of what not to do. So it's the only part of it that bothers me a little bit. Well, that's true. Usually they make mistakes, but it's there somewhere. But it also kind of, has a downside to that, where somebody might not make sure that they kill the victims or kill anybody that can identify them or whatever. It kind of shows them what not to do. So. But maybe not sadly, but on the flip side of that, most murderers as well as serial killers, as you know, have this idea that they're smarter than the average bear, and they're not going to get caught anyway until they get sloppy. And they always get sloppy. They always get sloppy. They get overconfident. Right. And it may take a minute, but they will get sloppy, as we all know. Getting back to, let's don't talk about the books yet because I like to keep people in suspense. I'm so evil. They're like, wait a minute, what does she write? You just have to wait a minute, ladies and gentlemen, because my friend Jennifer has a secret weapon. And this secret weapon is absolutely awesome. And if she'd had this secret weapon when she lived next door to the sociopath that should have been drowned at birth,
It would have taken one knock on the door, and that would have been all she wrote. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Tell the people about your secret weapon and how you acquired this secret weapon.
Well, ever since I was just teeny tiny, I've loved animals. And my secret weapon is a 72-pound German Shepherd from the Czech Republic, and he was a rescue dog. I had, normally I've always had retrievers and labs and dogs like that and cats, and I lost one of my labs very suddenly, and they're still not quite sure. He had heart failure, but he was 4 years old, athletic dog, and it was really sudden. And I wasn't sure if I was going to get a puppy. I know there's so many dogs that need homes, and just I wasn't finding kind of the dog that really fit me. And so I happened to go to this one site I never go to, and I saw this face. And you have to understand, and I know people who have German Shepherd dogs know what I'm talking about, this incredible face of this German Shepherd. He's a sable shepherd, so he's got mostly black face and those great big pointed ears and just that intelligent, sweet face. And I thought, well, he's a year, he's young. He's definitely probably going to need some obedience. So I actually kind of wavered whether or not to meet him or not. So finally I decided, well, I'm going to go meet him. And, I have to tell you, when the person from the rescue, we met at this big park and pulled this dog out, I looked at him and I thought, and I took him for a walk, and it was obvious. We both needed each other. We both had kind of some, crappy things happen, and it was just I knew it was, from that moment. It was still going to be a challenge, but I just knew, he was actually underweight, and, and he we called him Coyote because he was kind of thin. I don't know why he was so thin. They just didn't feed him a lot, and plus he's very, very active. And his name, actually he had a long name with all these German words, but he was Serodin, and so the rescue called him Odin. And so I thought, I'm not going to change this poor dog's name because he's had, so many changes. And so, Mr. O, we call him around here. He's been an amazing dog. I've learned a lot. Have experience in training and doing all kinds of stuff, but he was definite challenge, and but just the most amazing dog. And we're pretty much inseparable, and anytime that I see anybody who's a little strange at the park or up on the hiking trails, I have Odin with me, and pretty much everybody scatters. So he's a sweetheart.
And
he's a sweetheart.
He is a sweetheart. I've never met this dog, but just looking at his pictures, I just want to give him big, fat, sloppy kisses.
Oh, yeah.
But
he definitely wants to be on your lap, too. He's always climbing on me.
But
so he was only 62 pounds when I adopted him.
Wow.
And which is really thin. I think, shepherds should be relatively lean, but now he weighs 72 pounds. So you have to realize, this dog was really skinny, and I guess at his place where he was at a foster home, the dogs just ran on this huge acreage. So I guess he must have run all day. But we found out that he did know German, so somebody trained him the basic commands. But this dog with this huge drive, and he should be a police dog or a search and rescue dog. It was challenging. I had to really learn, how to be a good trainer. So, but we have so much fun now. It's been 2 years, and he's just grown into this really great dog. And you might see in one of my books, I always like to put dogs in there once in a while. You might see a dog that might remind you of Odin.
Ladies and gentlemen, when I see pictures of him, for a minute, Jennifer wavered about whether or not to release him as a canine or a search and rescue, because he does have this abundance of energy. And several of us said, "Look, Jennifer, this dog picked you.
Yeah.
If you lose him, he will grieve himself because these two are like glued to each other. They're as we like to say, the yin and the yang of each other, and he's very protective of her. So, for any of you out there that have an inkling that maybe Jennifer is vulnerable, guess again.
Yeah.
This woman's got it together, and she can take care of herself.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And, he's, like I said, I just didn't want to be really selfish. I thought if this dog is something that really, could help and really be one of these, top dogs, why should I hang on to him? So I did what I did. I wavered around like what was, best for him. And then he sits on me and looks at me like, I love it right here. So,
but you could also take him. You could also take him and use him in search and rescue with you as the person that does it with him.
Yeah, that's true.
The handler.
It does take, quite a bit of time. There's a lot of training actually involved, but we did. I have a friend, a couple trainers that I've used with Odin, and we have been doing just a few of the tracking and that type of thing, and he loves it. He's just, you show him something, he's just amazing. I think for the most part, most German Shepherds are. If they, especially if they come from more of a working line. I mean, I didn't go out. I don't care if a dog is, purebred or not. He just happened to be one, and it's been a lot of fun. And like I said, it's really kind of, he's taught me a lot, not only about myself. I was telling Yvonne earlier, I've learned a lot more of what patience really means dealing with him. But and plus, I've met other people who have German Shepherds, and they are really a one-person dog. Not that they don't love the whole family, but once they bond with that person, that's their person for life.
And they never waver from that either. That's
no.
it. That you can forget it. So now, ladies and gentlemen, now that you know about my friend Jennifer Chase, and you know that she was stalked by a sociopath, that she's got all these wonderful degrees in criminal justice and forensics and criminology because she got stalked by a sociopath. And as she and I said earlier, thank you, sir, for being a sociopath and living next door to her. You helped her and her wonderful dog, Odin. Now, let's talk a little bit about your books, and I know there's some movies that are coming out. The first book you did was, and that was the reason that the guy hooked us up, with Compulsion. Now, tell the audience about Compulsion and why you wrote Compulsion.
Well, during my whole experience, and it was a little while afterwards, I was kind of crafting in my head. People kept saying, oh, you should definitely, you should write your story. And I'm like, well, it isn't really that exciting, but I'd like to kind of write a character, maybe has something to do with it. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I started outlining, and I actually wrote a screenplay is what I did. And I started outlining a little bit, and I wanted a character that was a little different from a police detective or an FBI agent or even a private eye. But I wanted something that's like, what could I do? And I wanted this to be a female character. And I thought, well, how about someone who is more of a behind the scenes, she's, kind of been called a vigilante detective, a phantom detective. And what she does is she actually investigates, serial killers and even child, abductions. And she does this all behind the scenes. And she, emails all the information to the person, the detective or whoever it is in charge, and does this all anonymously. And I thought, let's go with that. And so as I started writing the screenplay, I thought, and I started just typing it out longhand, and it actually evolved into a novel. And I wanted to have it that had a little bit to do with a little bit of my experiences and who this character is. And of course, she's always getting into trouble, as you know.
Yes, she is.
Which is one of my favorite things. I love writing action, and I love, trying to, get out of a difficult situation. and not only, finding the killer and who did it, and try to stop them from, finding another victim. So that's kind of how it evolved. It took me a while. It wasn't that I sat down the next day and go, okay, I am going to write a novel, and I'm going to write it about this. I had to think about it for a while. Just felt like, the story needed just something a little bit tweaked, a little bit different. And it's been really fun because, readers seem to really like the fact of, someone's fighting behind the scenes, helping the cops because they need a little bit of help because they're understaffed and, and they're under, a lot of political stuff and, just things like that. So it's been really fun.
And she doesn't always have an easy time of it either, because sometimes the cops are after her too.
She gets a lot of bumps and bruises, let's put it that way. But sometimes people are like, she kind of got beat up a little bit. Well, that's going to happen. So, but
and it happens in real life.
It does. Well, you should know.
Yep, absolutely. It happens, but you move on from it and deal with it.
Right.
Right. You have a series of books where she's after these child murders.
Yes.
How many's in that series?
Well, it's a part of the whole series. It's the Emily Stone series, and each book I write in the series, even though it's progressing forward, they're all standalone, and they're all about a different, whoever she's chasing after. It doesn't necessarily it's not just about, child killers or child abductors. It just depends on, which book it is.
Now, you've got some movies that you've been working on?
Actually, one of the books is called Dark Mine, which takes place in Kauai, actually. Most of them take place in California area. Is being kind of looked at. Nothing substantial yet. I did have a trailer done by a great production company called Petrie Entertainment, and they did a book series trailer for me, and it was an amazing experience. It's like, I want to do movies. But it was really fun. I wrote just a really about 4-page script, and I said, can we do this? Can we do this for a low budget? And we tweaked a few things, the director, and we shot it. And actually, we shot it in Bakersfield at the where the fairgrounds are, and it was really a great experience. Yeah. So
now you also did. Oh, go ahead. I thought you were finished.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
You also wrote a book on how to write a screenplay. What made you write a book on how to write a screenplay?
I get asked that a lot. I actually wrote a lot of screenplays before I ever decided to write a novel, and that was I just have always loved movies. Movies in the past, especially 80s action films, as corny as that sounds, I think has really influenced me as writing action thrillers. I guess I like the big boom, jumping through windows and things like that. And that is the type of scripts I wrote. And it just, when I wrote Compulsion, the first Emily Stone book, I was all ready to, write a script. And I found, I'm like, well, this is really fun. And so my style of writing is a little bit different. And I think it's because, of the screenplay, background. You learn, you're down to the action and the dialogue, you know what I mean? And just being able to write the most amount in the least amount of words, I guess. So that's influenced me. And so I decided to put together basically how to get your first screenplay out and of a way of writing, and I actually did teach a class for a short time. Actually, it was almost 2 years online, and which is a lot of fun. And so it's based on those principles of, if you ever wanted to write a screenplay. Because I think it's really important as a writer to kind of write write different things, short stories, screenplays. I think it just really builds, upon your skills. to understand how all these things work, and especially writing a script as opposed to writing a novel.
And that leads me to my next question. Funny we should segue into that. You told me before the show that you have an anthology coming out. Are you at liberty to delve into that a little bit so folks can be looking for it?
Oh, sure. Actually, it's with several other writers, and you'll like this. It's a collection of dark tales, and it's called Run. And it's going to be out on Monday, on Halloween. And the funny thing about it, when they approached me, for being included, I was really just so excited, because I wish I had more time to write short stories, because I have a million ideas. All kinds of things come to me when I'm walking Odin or whether I'm doing housework, and this particular short story in there, mine's called 3 Days. And what inspired me to write this story, back in January, my husband and I went and stayed at a place down in kind of Central California at this hotel, and they put us in this room that was separate from everyone else. I don't know why, but and every time I went out of our room to go down the hallway, the elevator doors would just open.
Ooh.
And I'd be looking around like, okay, there's no one here, nobody pushed the button. So all these kind of strange things of this really nice hotel there kept kind of coming up, and I sat down actually early the next morning and kind of jotted out some ideas, which inspired me to write 3 Days, which is one of the short stories.
That's interesting. So they probably deliberately put you in this room to see if you could deal with the haunted hotel. It
was strange because, we were at the end of the hall, which I always like being on the end, and my husband and I always seem to get rooms like that no matter where we stay. But there was nobody on our floor, and when we opened the door, I swear, and as crazy as this sounds, I thought I heard kind of like an exhale. And I looked around, and I'm thinking, if I say anything to my husband, he's going to be like, you need to take a break from writing. But it was almost like there was just something, I don't know, maybe it was, who knows, but it was, like I said, it gave me some ideas, and, as a writer, you can see one simple thing and have a whole story or series of stories based on that.
That's interesting.
So
you were the only people on that entire floor.
Yeah. And like I said, I went out to get some ice, and the elevator doors would open, and I thought, there must be like some kind of infrared or one of those things where it opens, but there was nothing pressed. It didn't go away, but when my husband was with me, it didn't do it. I don't know. Take from that whatever you want. So then I was like, I'm not going by the elevator. I'm going to go down the stairs. I started thinking, I'm not getting in that elevator, So it was interesting.
That hotel doesn't have a reputation for the paranormal?
No, not that I'm aware of. It's pretty ordinary, and, they actually had a pretty good continental breakfast there, too. But, no, the room was really large. That was one thing that kind of took us back when we walked in. We're like, whoa, this isn't your regular room. So I got the feeling that it's like, oh, let's put him in this room. I don't know. But it was in January. It was really actually it was my birthday, and it was a really kind of strange rainy day too. It was an unusual weather. All the people said, "Oh no, we never get weather like this." And I'm thinking, okay.
Interesting.
So it made kind of a memorable birthday. But I just thought that was funny that an elevator door would just open every time I was there.
But when your husband walked with you, it didn't do anything.
Because I said, you got to come with me and check this out. And he's like, what? So, well, that's what it's like being married to a writer, I guess. It's, you know, always have some kind of crazy idea. So that's what inspired.
But it could have been haunted. So how many authors are in this anthology?
Oh, there's altogether, including me, is 10. And there's some really amazing, amazing authors and horror writers and thriller authors. And did you want me to list them?
If you want to.
It's well, the whole book, the collection is called Run, and so basically all these stories, basically just run.
Yeah.
But each story has a title, and I'm going to just go down the list. I don't know if some of the listeners know of. I knew a few of these people, and then I met the rest of them, and they're just so amazing. In fact, most of us are going to do actually a second one down the road. Caleb Pirtle, Sue Coletta, Rachel Ox, Kimberly McGath, me, and Christine Mason, Paul Dale Anderson, Kathy Love, Joe Broadmeadow, and Ellie Rossi. These are just amazing people. And every story is so different. That's what I love about short stories. If you don't have a lot of time to sit down and read a novel, you just sit down and read one of these stories. And you probably don't want to read them right before you go to bed.
You probably want to read them at lunch while you're around other people in the daylight.
Some of them are quite scary. So they're suspenseful, horror, little paranormal, that type of story. So
remember, ladies and gentlemen, it comes out tomorrow. It's called Run.
Run. You can pre-order.
Yep. And who is publishing this one?
Let's see. I can't remember the.
Or who compiled it, in case somebody wants to look up, or will it be in? If they look it up under your name, will they be able to find it?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
If you go to Amazon, you can find it under my name, and it's also available. It'll be available at Barnes and Noble. It'll be available at a couple of the other places too. And I believe it's up for pre-release before Halloween. So, and it's only 99 cents right now. So you can't go wrong with that. Yeah.
No. All right. Let me ask you this for our listening audience: are all of your books on Kindle and or Nook, as well as in paperback?
They're all on both. Well, they're all on Kindle and, like you said, Nook. My last one that just released, which is actually a new series, it's called Body of the Crime. He's kind of my nerdy forensic guy, a little bit tamer than Emily Stone, but it is not available in paperback yet, but it will be.
Now, I'm going to read the synopsis real quick. It's, like she says, called Body of the Crime, and it's a Chip Palmer forensic mystery. 3 grisly murders linked to 5 old cold cases, dubbed the Flower Girl Murders, to their limit to find a clever and extremely brutal serial killer, leaving a California town demanding justice. The district attorney's serial Special Task Force retains the help of the reclusive Dr. Chip Palmer, a forensic expert and criminal profiler, to steer them in the right direction. Palmer is known for his astute academic interpretations of serial and predatory crimes, along with his unconventional tactics that goes against general police procedures. He is partnered with the tough and beautiful DA Inspector Kat Rollins, a homicide detective transplanted from Phoenix, and the chemistry ignites between the team, both good and deadly. The Flower Girl Murders, say that fast 3 times, Yvonne, leaves 3 homicides, 5 cold cases, 2 seasoned detectives, 3 suspects, and 1 serial killer calling all the shots. The investigation must rely on one eccentric forensic scientist to unravel the clues to solve the case. But at what the cost? When is this one coming out now?
It's out right now. It came out actually in the summer, and I've been so blessed because it's been doing really well. And it's a little different than the Emily Stone. It's more of a whodunit. I definitely wouldn't call it a cozy mystery, but I've been kind of working on this character for a while, sort of a cross between kind of a MacGyver and Monk, kind of rolled into one.
Oh Lord.
So he's not going to jump out with a gun and start shooting everybody. He's more he sees things a little bit differently, kind of quirky, and people kind of think it's a waste of time, but he starts coming up with some things that very forensic. He loves to collect soil samples and all these types of things. He's got more stuff than you can possibly imagine. He does live rather reclusively because he's testified in so many cases where people want him dead because of his, his testimony. So he has to live kind of a reclusive life. People don't really know where he lives, so it gets kind of dicey. And of course, you have to have a little bit of a stronger, DA inspector in there, and it was a lot of fun to write, and I'm very excited. I'm going to be. I'm sorry, what's that?
I'm going to be downloading this one when we get off the phone. I have been so involved in my own life. I apologize. I didn't know this one was out. Huh.
And I'm kind of just working on the next one will be out towards the beginning of next year. I'm actually finishing Emily Stone. Hopefully before Christmas it should be out. So I can't leave Emily hanging because she'll get really mad. So.
Oh, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't read her Emily Stone series, I'm telling you, you got to read them because this woman, she is Jennifer Chase reincarnate. She takes no prisoners either and doesn't care who she tells about it.
Well, I think Emily Stone is definitely smarter and tougher than I am. So she's definitely not me. She would do some things that I wouldn't do, but that's all.
Oh, you might surprise yourself, my friend. You're pretty tough. You're pretty tough. And the time we've got left, I do two things. First, I want people to know where to find you because they got to get these books. I'm going to get Run. I'm going to get this one. So these folks need to know where to find you so that they can friend you and keep up with you and find out what's going on in your life. And then I have another question I'll ask, but do the find me first.
The easiest way is to go to my website blog, which is authorjenniferchase.com, and from there you we can connect on Twitter, on my Facebook page, and you can kind of find out what's going on with what's coming up. And I do write articles about forensic things and criminology, so you can kind of get everything right there at authorjenniferchase.com. And all my books are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and various other, like Kobo Books or iTunes. So, and like I said, Body of the Crime, which is the newest one, it's not out in paperback yet, and it will be. But I will be, announcing it on my site. So
y'all go. Don't do it now. Don't leave the show. Don't do it now. But as soon as the show's over, go hook up with Jennifer so you can because this Body of the Crime really sounds tasty, very tasty indeed, right up my alley. Now the second question that I ask my guest, because we were just talking earlier, we've known each other since 2009, and it doesn't seem like it's been that long that we've known each other, even though we've never met. If we met in person, we would just pick up where we left off talking on Facebook or what talking on the phone.
Right.
And we've traveled this journey at a time when this journey was not an easy travel because we are indie artists. And I always ask my guests, if someone comes to you and they say, Jennifer, I envy you. I would like to do what you do. I have a dream, but what would you tell them?
Well, first of all, don't say but, because if you really, truly, have a dream, whether it's writing books or just having a great blog with information or whatever it is, absolutely, you owe it to yourself to do it. And a lot of times people will say, I don't have enough time, I have kids, I have a full-time job. Well, you know what? I know someone personally who wrote a page a day to write her mysteries, and you know what? Before long, she had her book written. And how long does it take you to write a page?
20 minutes,
and she did.
Maybe.
Depends on what kind of scene you're writing, but
yep.
Even if that's all you can do, you can do it if you want to write a book, if you're thinking about it. Because I think a lot of people are like me. It's like I think about stories, and it's like, well, how do I want to approach this? How do I want to start this, And you can just do it as simple as that. Don't say, but, you can make it happen. You'll be so glad you did.
One of the things that I find interesting is when they say, I don't have enough time. Well, if you sit down and think about it, every human being that's walking around has 24 hours in a day. Now, if one was to sit down and chart out what they did in that 24-hour time period and how much time they spent doing that thing,
right.
You know what I think they would. You know where I'm going with this?
Yes, definitely.
Finish the thought, my friend.
Look at how much time that you have available, or how much time you waste doing something like maybe you watch too much TV, or maybe you're on I hate to say this, but maybe you're on social media a little bit too much. Whatever it is, when you're like, I don't know if you're like me, but if you really block out that time, like say, I want to spend even just half an hour, and if you look at what you do in a day, you can carve out that half hour. You really can.
Easily.
And it helps being more of a I do outline. I don't go crazy with my outlines because sometimes things organically kind of go off track a little bit, which has been some of my most fun scenes I've written. But, you have to have a plan. And I call it kind of a blueprint. So you can do the same thing with your day. Or say you only write, say 2 evenings a week on Tuesday and Thursday, or whatever it is, the time that you have. We do. I know I waste time. I know I do. Playing with Odin. No, but I know that there are times that, we could tighten up.
But that being said, time with Odin is constructive time. Because think about it. Because as writers, even if we're not in front of our computer writing or researching or outlining or doing something that has to do with a book we're getting ready to work on or something that we're messing around in our head, we're always thinking about our craft.
Definitely.
And this is what people that say, I have a dream, but how much time do you spend thinking about that craft? Are you in your car and a song pops in your head that you're thinking the lines to, or a storyline pops in your head? If you're really sincere in that craft, you can't go to sleep at night because they won't shut up.
That's right. That's why, I was a little late in getting this next Emily Stone out, and I almost feel like she's going to come kick my butt if I don't do this. But definitely. Like today, I took Odin for in between. We had some rain out here in California, which was nice, and there was a break. And I took Odin for a little bit of a hike, and the whole time I kind of talked to him. I hope nobody can really hear me, but there's no one around. They didn't want to be out in this kind of weather, and I'm thinking stuff. I'm thinking of scenes. I'm thinking ahead, 3 books ahead. I'm thinking, I need to write more. Whatever it is. I do that when I'm walking or at the beach or even vacuuming.
Yes. Or even
why is it when you vacuum these great ideas come to you? It's the funniest thing.
Because everything else is blocked out from the noise from the vacuum.
I think you're right. And it's just such a, kind of just a mode that you're in. It's automatic mode. You're vacuuming, and just I think your mind is a little bit freer.
Mm-hmm. Because it's not cluttered. And this is another thing that people do. They clutter their minds with unnecessary things. They worry about things they can't do anything about. They worry about things they don't have any business worrying about because it's none of their business to worry about it. They worry about things they can fix when they just need to go fix them and move on. So
I had to learn a simple thing a few years ago because I was starting to get really anxious all the time, not to the point of, where total panic attack, but just getting kind of anxiety feelings. And I thought, I must be worrying about things. And so living in the moment has helped me so much. And it sounds so simple, but it's really helped me a lot because I'm just obviously type A personality, and there's just a lot of things I want to do, and it's like you have to just calm down and just, focus. I'm kind of like Odin in that regard, just focus. And
just focus on what
and it really helps me, but why not ride in the moment?
Exactly.
And that's exactly, how I look at it. It's hard to keep focus because you're thinking about a lot of other storylines, or like, oh, I want to write this. I'd like to write a series like this, or I'd like to write 3 short stories. But right in the moment, and once you start training your mind to do that, it's really, really been beneficial. Not only in my writing, but just being calmer and enjoying things more.
Yeah, because your mind isn't cluttered.
Right.
You can just take it, because really, when you think about it, Jennifer, that moment is all we've got. That moment is all we're promised.
That's right.
So
you can't worry about what happened yesterday. And a lot of, especially what's going on now, people are so worried about tomorrow, in the future. But still, we're living right now.
Yeah, and the future may not happen. We may all get blown up tomorrow, but we got right now. So the past we can't change. The future's not here yet, and we can't do anything about either one of them. All we can do is deal with right now and what we have right now. And if we don't protect that moment, and if we don't protect this time, then we may not have another moment.
Right.
So this is what we're saying, ladies and gentlemen. If you've got this dream, and I don't care what it is, I've said before, if you want to become a garbage collector, God love you because we need you.
That's right.
But don't make excuses of why you can't make that dream real, because all you do is you cheat yourself. And you cheat us of being able to enjoy your dream with you. Am I right, Jennifer?
Absolutely, absolutely.
The inability to believe in oneself is so sad.
Well, and you don't want to move ahead and have that I woulda, coulda, shoulda, or feel like you missed an opportunity, because we have opportunities a lot more than you realize.
Exactly.
And it's something that I think about. But just from like when I first met you, I mean, look at what's happened in the whole time. All the different things that we've done, and it's just you owe it to yourself.
And we've
Anybody.
grown. We've grown with each other. We've grown separately.
Right.
And ladies and gentlemen, we, in our little network of have thousands of people that we have, we encourage each other. We support each other. So you're not alone. You
Definitely.
got us. You just got to reach out. And am I right? We'll help them.
That's right. That's right. I love it when I receive letters or emails and people asking questions and whatever I can do. Sometimes it's about police procedure or forensics or where to get more information on some specific thing. And I love feeling like I actually helped somebody, because it wasn't always easy when the whole indie thing came out. You didn't really have a lot of people to talk to.
Exactly. We just had us. And we're going to run out of time, but you're coming back in February, so we can pick this up, because we're not done yet. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Off the Chain. I'm your host, Yvonne Mason. My guest has been the most wonderful, lovely, precious Jennifer Chase, author of crime novels. Go out and get them. Tomorrow night, my guest will be Paul Hurd, a.k.a. Thomas S. Mulvey. He writes dark horror. So you got to join us at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Jennifer, thank you, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a hoot and a half. And as y'all know, it's a Southern thing. This is Off the Chain. I am your host, Yvonne Mason. And remember, if you have a dream, what do we say, Jennifer? Live it.
Live it.
Live it,
and,
live it,
and
live
be
it.
in the moment.
Be in the moment, live the dream, because
That's
now is all that we have. We have nothing left than now. Tomorrow's not here. Yesterday is gone. So with that, we say good night. Hold on. Yes.